Step back into the legendary bar where everybody knew your name and uncover the hidden stories behind one of television's most beloved sitcoms. In this video, we explore 15 cast members of Cheers' 1982-1993, revealing where they are buried today and the surprising, sometimes heartbreaking truths that unfolded behind the scenes. From iconic performances that defined an era, to personal struggles, untold conflicts, and quiet final chapters far from the spotlight, this journey goes beyond laughter and nostalgia. Join us as we peel back the curtain on fame, friendship, and fate and discover what really happened to the stars who made Cheers a timeless classic. Kirstie Alley, born January 12, 1951, stormed onto the set of Cheers as the neurotic corporate climber Rebecca Howe in 1987, at the age of 36, replacing a beloved lead and instantly revitalizing the aging series for another 6 dominant seasons. While she eventually commanded a star's salary, her entry point was a high-stakes gamble for the network, earning her an estimated starting rate of $35,000 per episode, a figure that, while substantial enough to purchase a brand-new Jaguar XJ6 or a small home in the Midwest in 1987, currency was a mere fraction of the millions in advertising revenue her characters' will they, won't they romantic tension generated for NBC during the lucrative Thursday night lineup. Her life was scarred by devastating cinematic trauma. Just as her career was taking off in 1981, a drunk driver struck her parents' car, killing her mother instantly and leaving her father with shattered ribs, a punctured lung, and deep internal trauma. A horrific loss that she had to mourn while navigating the superficial glare of Hollywood. Later in life, she faced a silent biological enemy. She was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, an aggressive adenocarcinoma that had metastasized to her liver and lymph nodes before being detected, causing severe abdominal pain, fatigue, and rapid weight loss that she kept entirely private from the public. She died on December 5, 2022 in Tampa, Florida, at the age of 71 after a brief, fierce battle with the disease. She was cremated, and her ashes were scattered at her former residence in Clearwater, Florida. Fun fact: before running the bar, she played the half-Vulcan Lieutenant Saavik in Star Trek II. The Wrath of Khan, wearing prosthetic ears so uncomfortable she slept in them to save makeup time, and her specific brand of chaotic energy paved the way for characters like Elaine Benz. From the neurotic corporate climber now to the immovable object of the corner stool, the man whose entrance shook the floorboards, George Wendt, born October 17, 1948, claimed his permanent territory as the beer-loving accountant Norm Peterson in 1982 at the age of 33, appearing in every single episode and transforming a supporting character into the show's most iconic mascot. While he eventually negotiated a lucrative contract, his entry into the series was marked by a standard Screen Actors Guild starting rate of approximately $1,500 per episode. A modest sum in the recession-era economy of 1982 that would barely cover the monthly mortgage on a standard 2-bedroom bungalow in the San Fernando Valley, or the price of a high-end Betamax player, highlighting the stark disparity between his instant cultural ubiquity and his actual working-class earnings. His life was shadowed by the serious medical consequence of his physical stature. Throughout his career, he battled the long-term effects of obesity, which placed immense strain on his cardiovascular system. This struggle culminated in a terrifying incident in October 2012, when he suffered severe crushing chest pains, angina pectoris, due to constricting coronary arteries, forcing him to withdraw from a production of The Odd Couple for emergency hospitalization. In his final years, he managed the slow, debilitating progression of congestive heart failure, a condition where the myocardium gradually loses its ability to pump blood efficiently, leading to chronic fatigue and systemic edema. He passed away on May 20, 2025 in Los Angeles, California at the age of 76, his heart finally surrendering after decades of joyous performance. He was cremated, and his ashes were returned to his family. Fun fact: Wendt is the real-life uncle of actor Jason Sudeikis, and he immortalized his love for Chicago sports as Bob Swirsky in the SNL Superfan sketches, proving his Da Bears accent was genuine heritage. From the immovable object of the corner stool now to the befuddled heart behind the bar, a gentle soul fighting a terminal battle on camera. Nicholas Colasanto, born January 19, 1924, stepped behind the counter as Ernie Coach Pantuso in 1982 at the age of 58, bringing a lovable, senile warmth to Cheers that grounded the show's cynical humor. While he became a beloved father figure to the cast, his compensation was that of a veteran character actor rather than a franchise lead, earning approximately $500 per episode during the early seasons. While this weekly sum could purchase a high-end IBM personal computer or cover the down payment on a modest suburban home in 1982, it was a pittance compared to the multi-million-dollar syndication deals the show would later secure wealth he would never live to see. His final years were ravaged by severe progressive heart disease, specifically end-stage cardiomyopathy, exacerbated by years of alcoholism, which he had heroically conquered in the 1970s. The damage, however, was done. His heart struggled to pump blood efficiently, leading to chronic fluid accumulation in his lungs, pulmonary edema, and visible dyspnea, causing him to lose significant weight and struggle with memory loss due to reduced oxygen flow to the brain, forcing him to write his lines on the bar's wooden slats just to get through a scene. He died of a massive heart attack on February 12, 1985, in Studio City, California, at the age of 61, passing away peacefully while watching television. He was laid to rest at St. Anne's Cemetery in Cranston, Rhode Island. Fun fact: before pouring drinks, Colasanto was a highly respected director who helmed episodes of Columbo and Starsky and Hutch, and after his death, the cast honored him by hanging a picture of the Apache leader Geronimo, which had been in his dressing room, on the set wall for the remainder of the series. From the gentle heart behind the bar now to the wisecracking fixture at the table, a late-blooming star with a familial connection you never suspected. Philip Perlman, born August 15, 1919, pulled up a chair as the acerbic barfly Phil in 1986 at the age of 67, turning what was meant to be a background retirement hobby into a recurring role that lasted for seasons. Unlike the series leads negotiating six-figure contracts, Perlman worked largely for Screen Actors Guild scale wages, earning roughly $300 to $400 per day of filming, a modest pocket money sum for a retired businessman that in 1986 might cover a few nice dinners in Beverly Hills or a week's worth of groceries, serving as a stark contrast to the massive corporate machinery of the show. His physicality in later life was a testament to the slow, inevitable decline of the human body. Surviving into his mid-90s meant battling the systemic breakdown of sarcopenia, muscle loss, and the general frailty associated with extreme old age, alongside the deep emotional toll of outliving his wife of many years and watching his contemporaries pass away one by one. Despite appearing invincible as the grumpy patron, his body eventually succumbed to the natural cessation of vital functions after a long decline. He died on April 29, 2015 in Los Angeles, at the impressive age of 95, having lived a full second life on screen. He was laid to rest in Los Angeles, California. Fun fact: he was the real-life father of Rhea Perlman, Carla Tortelli, and he only started acting because he got bored visiting her on set. His dry delivery eventually landed him roles in Danny DeVito's Throw Mama, From the Train, and Hoffa, proving talent ran deep in the DNA. From the wisecracking fixture at the table now to the haughty nemesis upstairs, a Tony Award winner whose mind tragically betrayed him. Keene Curtis, born February 15, 1923, sneered his way into the bar as John Allen Hill, the arrogant owner of Melville's in 1990 at the age of 67, acting as the perfect foil to Sam Malone's working-class charm during the show's final years. Despite playing a millionaire restaurateur who could buy and sell the bar on a whim, his compensation was that of a recurring guest star, earning approximately $400 or $500 per week of filming, a respectable sum that could finance a luxury European vacation or a new sedan in the early 90s, but a far cry from the immense syndication wealth amassed by the main cast he tormented on screen. His final act was marred by the cruelest of ironies. The man, known for his razor-sharp wit and biting insults, fell victim to Alzheimer's disease, a progressive neurodegenerative condition that slowly stripped away his memories and cognitive functions, leaving him unable to recognize the very friends and colleagues who had celebrated his genius on Broadway. He died on October 13, 2002, in Bountiful, Utah, at the age of 79, having returned to the quiet mountains of his youth as his health declined. He was laid to rest at Bountiful Memorial Park in Utah. Fun fact: Before annoying Sam Malone, he was a giant of the stage, winning a Tony Award in 1971 and famously voicing Daddy Warbucks in the original cartoon adaptation of Annie, a role that cemented his persona as the ultimate wealthy authority figure. From the haughty nemesis upstairs, now to the befuddled soul in the collar. A comedic shapeshifter who could bless you or expel you. Eric Christmas born. March 19, 1916 donned the collar as the befuddled Father Barry in 1988, at the age of 72, bringing a masterclass of deadpan timing to Cheers that could only come from 5 decades on the stage. Despite his status as a revered character actor, his compensation for such guest spots was strictly governed by union scale, earning him approximately $2,500 to $3,000 per week, a sum that in 1988 was roughly equivalent to the price of a high-end home entertainment system or a first-class ticket to London, yet it was a microscopic drop compared to the ad revenue his scenes helped retain. His final years were marked by the inevitable grinding breakdown of a body spent entirely in the service of the theater. The natural causes cited at his death masked the cumulative physiological failure of the cardiovascular system, where the heart muscle slowly loses its contractile force, leading to chronic fatigue and systemic weakness that eventually necessitates a complete withdrawal from the physical demands of performance. He died on July 22, 2000, in Camarillo, California, at the age of 84, succumbing to the quiet cessation of these vital functions. He was laid to rest at Santa Barbara Cemetery in California. Fun fact, he was a comedic shapeshifter who terrified a generation of teenagers as the strict Principal Carter in the raunchy cult classic Porky's, proving that he could play both the sacred and the profane with equal conviction. From the man of the cloth now to the mother of all nightmares, the terrifying matriarch who could freeze a mailman with a single glare, Frances Sternhagen, born January 13, 1930, marched into the bar as the terrifyingly overbearing Esther Clevin in 1986 at the age of 56, creating one of television's most memorable villains, a mother whose love felt like a hostage situation. While she was a multi-Tony Award winner, her television salary for a recurring guest role was modest, estimated at $4,000 to $5,000 per episode, a paycheck that could cover the annual tuition of a private university in the mid-'80s, but failed to reflect the immense critical weight she brought to the sitcom, eventually earning her 2 Emmy nominations for the role. Her life was touched by a profound, lingering grief. She lost her husband and fellow actor Thomas Carlin to heart failure in 1991, leaving her to navigate the next 32 years of her career and life as a widow, a deep emotional scar she carried even as she played comedic roles. Her physical decline was the slow, graceful exit of a nonagenarian. Surviving to 93 meant facing the gradual metabolic shutdown of the body, where the loss of muscle mass, sarcopenia, and the dimming of sensory inputs like hearing and sight slowly narrowed her world until her body simply rested. She died peacefully on November 27, 2023 in New Rochelle, New York at the age of 93. She was laid to rest at Great Oak Cemetery in Roxbury, Connecticut. Fun fact, she found late-in-life fame as Bunny McDougal in Sex and the City, proving that her ability to play the judgmental mother-in-law was not just a role, but a fine art form she perfected over decades. From the mother of all nightmares now to the oldest soul in the room. A man whose career spanned from silent films to the sitcom era. Ian Wolfe, born November 4, 1896, shuffled into the pilot episode as the World War I veteran Buzz Crowder in 1982 at the astounding age of 86, bringing a century of history to a bar that was just opening its doors. As a day player in the twilight of his career, his compensation was a standard guild daily rate of approximately $350 to $400 for the shoot, a humble sum that in 1982 had the purchasing power to buy perhaps a top-tier VCR or cover a month's utility bills in Los Angeles. A stark reminder that even a veteran with 400 credits was often paid like a temporary worker. His longevity masked a body that was essentially running on fumes. By his 90s, he was battling the cumulative, irreversible effects of advanced arteriosclerosis, where the blood vessels stiffen and narrow over decades, forcing the heart to work doubly hard to pump oxygen to frail tissues alongside the constant brittle threat of osteoporosis that turned every step into a calculated risk of fracture. He died on January 23, 1992, in Los Angeles, California, at the incredible age of 95, his body finally surrendering to natural causes, which medically translates to total systemic senescence, where multiple organ systems simply cease to maintain homeostasis. He was cremated, and his ashes were scattered at sea, returning him to the elements. Fun fact, he played the creepy old man in George Lucas's dystopian THX 1138, and because he went bald in his 20s, he played old men for nearly 70 years, proving that looking older than your age is sometimes the best career insurance in Hollywood. From the oldest soul in the room now to the imposing authority figure, a heavyweight talent whose heart couldn't keep pace with his presence. Robert Prosky, born December 13, 1930, commanded the screen as Navy Captain Franklin Howe, Rebecca's domineering father, in 1992 at the age of 61, using his signature blend of warmth and intimidation to terrify the bar patrons. Despite his acclaim from Hill Street Blues, his guest rate for Cheers would have been in the range of $7,500 per episode, a respectable upper-middle-class paycheck that could have purchased a reliable used sedan or funded a significant home renovation in the early 90s, yet it was a fleeting payout compared to the residual empire built by the core cast. His final curtain call was tragic and sudden. He suffered from chronic cardiovascular disease that necessitated a major heart procedure, but the intervention proved fatal. He died on December 8, 2008 in Washington, D.C. at the age of 77 due to complications following the surgery likely involving a bacterial infection or the failure of the heart muscle to recover from the trauma of the operation, leading to cardiogenic shock, where the heart suddenly cannot pump enough blood to meet the body's needs. He was laid to rest at Rock Creek Cemetery in Washington, D.C. Fun fact, while he played the tough cop or the gruff father, he is most beloved by millennials as the kindly TV station owner, Mr. Lundy and Mrs. Doubtfire, and his specific genius lay in making you desperately want his approval, whether he was a thief, a sergeant, or a dad. From the imposing authority figure now to the befuddled commandant, a man whose comedic genius hid a shattering parental grief. George Gaines, born May 16, 1917, wandered into the bar as Malcolm Kramer, a man enjoying his final days before a wedding in 1983 at the age of 66, bringing a refined operatic dignity to the role that presaged his later fame. While he would soon become a household name, his compensation for this early guest appearance was likely a standard union weekly rate of roughly $2,500 to $3,000, a sum that in the economic climate of 1983 could purchase a cutting-edge Apple IIe computer system or a reliable used station wagon, yet it was a modest paycheck for a man with such a commanding presence, barely hinting at the franchise wealth awaiting him in Police Academy. His long life was punctuated by a tragedy no parent should endure. In 1989, just as he was achieving peak recognition, his son Matthew was killed in a car crash in India while traveling to Nepal, a devastating blow that left Gaines to carry a silent, hollow grief through the height of his comedic career. Living to the remarkable age of 98 meant his final battle was with the slow, inexorable fading of the body's machinery, a condition often termed failure to thrive in geriatrics, where the metabolic processes simply slow down, appetite vanishes, and the heart's electrical signals gradually dim until they cease. He died on February 15, 2016 in North Bend, Washington at the age of 98. He was cremated, and his ashes were returned to his family to be held in private remembrance. Fun fact, before he was the oblivious Commandant Lassard, or Punky Brewster's dad, he was a legitimate opera singer in Italy and France, possessing a booming baritone voice that he largely suppressed to play befuddled comedic roles. From the befuddled Commandant now to the absentee father, the man who gave Cliff Clavin his chin and his insecurities. Dick O'Neill, born August 29, 1928, walked in as the long-lost father Mr. Clavin in 1985 at the age of 57, perfectly matching the bluster and know-it-all energy of his on-screen son, Cliff. For this pivotal character moment, O'Neill likely commanded a guest fee of approximately $3,500 to $4,000, a working actor's wage. that in 1985 might cover 3 months of rent for a decent apartment in Queens, or a high-end VCR setup illustrating the disparity between a memorable character actor's pay and the millions earned by the series' regulars he supported. His final years were plagued by the ravages of congestive heart failure, a debilitating condition where the heart muscle weakens and loses its ability to pump blood efficiently, causing fluid to back up into the lungs' pulmonary edema and lower extremities. This led to years of chronic breathlessness, severe fatigue, and the sensation of drowning while lying flat. A terrifying physical decline for a man known for his energetic fast-talking roles. He died on November 17, 1998, in Santa Monica, California. At the age of 70, his heart finally unable to sustain the demands of his body. He was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Los Angeles, California. Fun fact, he was the quintessential New York Irish cop in Hollywood, casting most famously playing the disgruntled subway dispatcher Carell in the original The Taking of Pelham 123, where his shouting matched the screech of the trains. From the absentee father now to the Southern gentleman of the courtroom, a character actor whose face defined authority for decades. Macon McCalman, born December 30th, 1932, stepped into the Cheers universe as Daryl Stabell in 1982 at the age of 49, bringing his signature blend of politeness and skepticism to the role during the show's freshman season. While he was a ubiquitous face in film and television, his compensation for a single episode guest spot in 1982 was the industry standard approximately $2,000 to $2,500 for the week of work. In the economic context of the early 80s, this paycheck provided the purchasing power to acquire a high-end Betamax VCR or cover the down payment on a modest, reliable sedan. Yet it was a stark contrast to the lucrative residuals that the series' regulars would eventually bank, leaving actors like McCalman to rely on volume of work rather than a single hit. His later years were marked by the silent, progressive struggle against cardiovascular decline, specifically congestive heart failure. This condition meant his heart muscle gradually lost the contractile force necessary to pump blood, effectively causing fluid to back up into his lungs, pulmonary edema, and extremities. This led to a difficult existence defined by chronic shortness of breath, profound fatigue from oxygen deprivation, and the constant management of diuretics to reduce swelling, a physical battle that slowly eroded his ability to perform. He died on November 29, 2005 in Memphis, Tennessee at the age of 72, his heart finally succumbing to the long fight. He was cremated, and his ashes were given to his family for private disposition. Fun fact: he is immortalized in cinema history as Deputy Queen in the harrowing thriller Deliverance, and he became Hollywood's go-to Southern prosecutor in films like Fried Green Tomatoes and The Client, proving that a drawl and a suit could build a 40-year career. From the Southern gentleman of the courtroom now to the sweet little old lady who could steal a marble rye, the late blooming star who defined grandma for a generation. Frances Bay, born January 23, 1919, shuffled into the bar as the delightful Mrs. Brubaker in 1986 at the age of 67, proving that comedic timing has no expiration date. Despite her late entry into Hollywood, she didn't start acting professionally until her mid-50s. She became a ubiquitous presence, though her compensation for a guest role like this was a standard union scale of approximately $3,500 for the week. In 1986, this sum could buy a top-of-the-line home video camera or a modest European vacation, but it was a humble return for a woman whose face was more recognizable than many lead actors, yet who often worked without the cushion of long-term residuals. Her later years were marked by a traumatic and life-altering injury. In 2002, she was struck by a car while crossing a street in Glendale, California, necessitating the amputation of part of her leg. This devastating accident forced her to relearn how to walk and navigate the world with a prosthetic in her 80s, a grueling physical and emotional challenge that she met with the same feisty spirit she brought to her characters. She died on September 15, 2011 in Tarzana, California at the age of 92, succumbing to complications from pneumonia, where the lungs fill with fluid and oxygen exchange fails, a common and often fatal condition for the elderly. She was laid to rest at Mount Sinai Memorial Park in Los Angeles, California. Fun fact, she is best known to modern audiences as Adam Sandler's sweet grandma in Happy Gilmore, but she achieved sitcom immortality as the woman from whom Jerry Seinfeld stole the last marble rye bread. From the sweet grandma now, to the doctor on call, the character actor with over 130 credits who you've seen in everything. Richard Rote, born July 3, 1933, appeared as Mr. Hecht in 1985 at the age of 52, bringing his reliable professional demeanor to the chaotic world of Cheers as he did to countless other sets. As a journeyman character actor, his financial reality was defined by volume rather than per-episode riches. For a guest spot in the mid-'80s, he would have earned around $3,000 to $3,500 a blue-collar acting wage that paid the mortgage on a standard suburban home, but required him to constantly hustle for the next gig to maintain his lifestyle. His longevity was impressive, but his final years were a quiet battle with the heart's electrical system. Living to nearly 90 meant managing the risks of cardiac arrhythmia and the slow stiffening of the arteries' arteriosclerosis that characterize advanced age. His death came suddenly on August 5, 2022, in Newport Beach, California, at the age of 89, likely due to a sudden cardiac event where the heart simply stops beating effectively, a peaceful but abrupt end to a prolific life. His final resting place has not been publicly disclosed, but he passed away in Newport Beach, California. Fun fact, he was the face of the TV doctor, playing medical professionals in everything from The Doctors to Seinfeld, where he labeled Elaine a difficult patient, proving that you don't need a medical degree to convince America you know what you're doing. Who's your favorite character from Cheers? It's always tough to say goodbye to beloved cast members who are no longer with us. How does that make you feel? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you're enjoying our content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated. We appreciate having you in our community.